Major Dutchendorf's crew flew it exactly as planned, establishing 6 world records in a single flight. You see, they went with 4,000 pounds, so they automatically set records for 2,000 pounds and for no payload at all. Now, this gave them 3 records for the first lap of 1,000 kilometers and 3 more for the second, 6 in all. And 5 of these had been held by the Soviet Union. Now, you'd think this airplane had pretty well proved itself, wouldn't you? I mean, what can you expect from a medium bomber? Speed, not just in flashes, but for the long stretch, and carrying loads to altitudes that only a heavy bomber is supposed to. And maneuvering around up there like a fighter? Well, before the ink had a chance to dry on the record books, another one set out to break 3 of these new records. Piloting was Major Harold E. Confer, Major Richard H. Weir was navigator, and Captain Howard S. Bialy, DSO. We saw them receiving trophies in the bombing competition. Today's flight, like the previous one, was uphill all the way. They crossed the starting line at 40,000 feet, finished above 50. To give you an idea of the caliber of B-58 pilots, here Major Confer was making a 185-degree turn, keeping a 60-degree bank angle throughout and pulling more than 2 Gs. Now, that's twice the force of gravity. And from down below, the turn looked razor sharp. The least cut inside the crosswire, of course, would have put them out of the race. But they finished in fine style, having circled the 1,000-kilometer course at an average of 1,284 miles per hour, upping the speed of the previous flight by nearly 100 miles per hour and winning for themselves 3 of the 6 B-58 world records. To the men of the 43rd, it was all one. They were keeping the records in the family. And preparing a Carswell homecoming Major Confer's crew wouldn't soon forget. Their own families, friends, newspapermen, and VIPs, just about everybody turned out. But who wants to see VIPs or reporters at a time like this, The Thompson Trophy was awarded to Major Confer's crew for speed supremacy and, perhaps just as important, for practical maneuverability in the air. Now, the Thompson Trophy was one we'd all heard about, of course, and respected. But even the few racing buffs who had heard about the next one, the Blériot Trophy, well, they felt that no one short of Buck Rogers would ever win that one. Louis Blériot, the pioneer French aviator, first offered the trophy in 1930, the era of Lindbergh, at a time when an airplane would need to fly at least 10 times as fast as the Spirit of St. Louis just to qualify. But Blériot the visionary, he looked for an airplane to come along, perhaps in his own generation, that could fly 2,000 kilometers per hour and hold that speed for 30 minutes. Now, if somebody had asked me 30 years ago if I thought so much progress was possible, I'd probably have said, well, I wouldn't bet on it. But not Monsieur Blériot. He made the bet. And 31 years later, well, let's see how it was won. The run was made over a closed course of 669 miles, starting at Edwards Air Force Base in California and reaching points in Arizona and Nevada. The ground crew had done their part. Taking care of a sophisticated bird like this is no job for a shade tree mechanic. These men are sharp as they come. Typical of the ground crews that keep the B-58 up there doing what's never been done before. Here's Major Eugene Murphy piloting this one, entering the starting gate at 44,000 feet and climbing. One of the Blériot rules was that altitude at the close of the run must be equal to or greater than the start. Major Murphy checks with his defense systems operator, Lieutenant David F. Dickerson. On a flight like this, the DSO helps the pilot handle problems of Mach and fuel transfer so the center of gravity stays exactly right. They're coming up on the final turn and the roughest, Lone Pine, California, at the foot of Mount Whitney. The pilot gets a reading from his navigator, Major Eugene F. Moses. Round they go. 93 degrees at Mach 2, and then the home stretch. In only one try, the B-58 became the first airplane to average 1,302 miles per hour for 30 minutes. And its crew became the permanent winner of the Blériot Trophy. Those on hand knew they'd witnessed a beautiful performance, precision flying, and teamwork. In Paris at the award presentation, Madame Blériot, the widow of the donor, stood with the crew, and her presence signified that her husband's vision had indeed been fulfilled, even in his own generation. Now, from what you've seen already, you've got a pretty good idea of the Hustler's speed, endurance, and versatility. It has another extraordinary capability, too: high altitude. World altitude records for payloads of 5,000 kilograms, that's slightly over 11,000 pounds, and 2,000 kilograms were held by the Soviet Union. That is, they were until the B-58 went after them. They were then claimed for the United States by a crew from the Air Force Systems Command, which does flight testing for the Air Force. A veteran test pilot, Major Fitzhugh Fulton, approached the pull-up point at 35,000 feet, pouring on the cold. Still going, and already they've broken the Soviet record. There's the peak after a bullet-like trajectory. That's 16.5 miles high. On-the-spot certification was made by the National Aeronautics Association, just as on all previous record flights. Their figures were verified later by the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale, Paris, France, as 2 official world records. Although flights like this are pretty much all in a day's work to test crews, this one must have given special satisfaction to Major Fitz Fulton, who early in 1957 was the first Air Force test pilot to fly a B-58. Other members of the high-altitude crew were Captain William R. Payne, navigator, and the civilian flight test engineer Charles R. Haynes.